NFL Top 10, my Week 1 Power Rankings. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very excited to start this. I will do this type of video every single week, usually on Tuesdays after Monday Night Football and all of that is over. Tuesday usually we'll update and we'll go week to week throughout the entire NFL season. We did this all year last year. If you want to go back on the channel, see how it flows. Now, one thing to remember is that this is not a knee-jerk reaction channel. So if my number one team loses, that doesn't mean I'm going to drop them out of the top 10. It doesn't mean I'm going to drop them out of the top 5. They may even stay at 1, depending on the situation. Okay, so let me know in the comments below your top 10. Now, I don't think I've ever done a top 10 before the season starts. Usually I see everything play out. I use some kind of preseason thoughts, and then I see the first week, and then we do our top 10. But now I'm doing this based off of a little bit of last year, based off of off-season moves, tiny bit of preseason, and then my projections moving forward. All right, let's start. Number 1, I think, is easy. The Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in football. They are the defending Super Bowl champions. They deserve to be here. I thought they were bad last year, or I thought they were weak last year. I thought they were vulnerable last year because of their wide receivers. Patrick Mahomes proved me wrong. They are about to play in 10 minutes, which is why I am getting this list out here before game 1 of the 2024 NFL season. The Chiefs are better than they were last year. Their receiving core is way better. As long as they have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they have a legitimate chance. Now, the only thing that gives me hesitancy is the idea of three-peating. The idea of three-peating is so hard. But let me tell you this, and this is a hot take / advanced thoughts. What would you say is the easiest division of football? A lot of people are going to say the NFC South. I would argue the AFC West. Now, you would say, well, it can't be the easiest division of football because it has the Chiefs in it. And I would say to that, you probably are correct. But what if you are the Kansas City Chiefs? If you take the Kansas City Chiefs out of the AFC West, that's the easiest division of football. So in a way, and not just in a way, but literally, the Chiefs play in the easiest division of football because the Chiefs cannot play themselves. Okay? If you take just the Buccaneers and the Falcons in the NFC South, like them playing against each other, that's a close, tough game. Okay? Evenly matched, even the Buccaneers and the Saints, whatever. The Chiefs and the Broncos, the Chiefs and the Raiders, the Chiefs and the Chargers, none of those are evenly matched. So the Chiefs do benefit from playing in the easiest division of football. These other teams cannot say that. My number 2 team and my Super Bowl champions. If you want to see all my betting picks and stuff, we go check out my Twitter / Instagram. I gave this play out. I believe in it. I love it. The Detroit Lions. I believe the Detroit Lions will win the Super Bowl this year. The Detroit Lions roster is stacked on every single phase of the ball. Running back, quarterback, wide receiver, defensive line, offensive line, assistant coaches, everything. They've got it, okay? I want to give you another stat, and this is why I really like them. Indoors, Jared Goff is absolutely dominant, okay? Has been in his career. Jared Goff gets into trouble whenever he goes on the road or he goes and plays in bad weather. But inside, he's been great his entire career. This year, the Detroit Lions play 3 games outside. 3. Woo! That is pretty good for Jared Goff. They had young players who now are developing, who have shown promise. The Amon-Ra St. Browns of the world, the Jahmyr Gibbs of the world. Those guys aren't just Sam Laporta. It's not just like, yeah, they're unknown young players. They are young players who very much are known. No one is questioning the ability of Jahmyr Gibbs. No one is questioning the ability of Sam Laporta. Some people, including myself, may say that Jahmyr Gibbs will come out as the best running back out of that draft class, not Bijan Robinson. But I love the Lions. And the NFC, I think, is weak. The NFC is weakened because I am kind of down on the 49ers and Dallas, way down on Dallas. So I have a Lions team who I believe is far and away the best team in the NFC. The Chiefs, the AFC is a little more competitive. So that's another reason why I picked the Lions to be my Super Bowl champions, but they are number 2. Number 3. Now, I know I said I'm down on the Niners, but that doesn't mean that they aren't stacked. Okay, the Niners are good. They're not, right now, I'm down on them because of the Brandon Ayuk drama, because of the Trent Williams drama. all that looks to be okay. Trent Williams signing his deal. Brandon Ayuk signing his deal. Kyle Shanahan is still there. The roster is really, really good. No doubt about it. Probably the best coaching, probably the best front office in the game right now. I think they're fantastic. I believe in Brock Purdy, especially in that system. But I do think Detroit has leapt them strictly roster-wise. I think they have jumped them. Ben Johnson is a huge reason why Detroit is number 2. But San Francisco is the second best team in the NFC, I think, by a wide margin. But they aren't at the peak of their powers right now because of the offseason drama. In 4 or 5, 6 weeks, the offseason drama will not be a big deal. And San Francisco could certainly move up. Number 4, we are going to see this team play tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Number 4 is the Baltimore Ravens. Really good team. Added weapons. 2 things give me concern. 1, offensive line. So they have 3 new offensive linemen. And the second thing that gives me concern is the loss of Mike Macdonald. So Macdonald is now the head coach at Seattle. He was a DC at Baltimore. I think losing him is a bigger deal than people are giving him credit. Now, John Harbaugh, love him. Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP. Derrick Henry, what's not to like? But again, you drop 3 offensive linemen and you have to learn a whole new defense. Who knows what it will look like? I do have pause with that. So I dropped them a little baby bit, but I think Baltimore still very good, but not as good, I don't think, as people think they are. 9 minutes until the game starts, or excuse me, an hour, 9 minutes till the game starts. I would play the Chiefs money line. If I had to play the side, I would take the Chiefs -2.5, and I lean to the under in that game. Bad matchup for the Ravens. All right, number 5. I'm doing this live. I don't have this like planned out. I've thought about it, but I don't have it like hard planned out here. So what y'all are seeing is pretty much straight off the top of the dome. Number 5, I'm going to go ahead and give the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Eagles, they're a weird team because a couple of years ago we saw a really, really, really good team. Team that probably should have won the Super Bowl with a quarterback that probably should have won the MVP. Then all of a sudden we saw some really, really bad things when they lost Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon. So the question now is like, well, was all that just Steichen and Gannon, or was it the roster? Because the roster seemingly is loaded. I mean, when you have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the offensive side of the ball, and you would think, all right, we're ready to roll, right? And then defensively, they basically drafted all of Georgia a few years ago. Great defensive unit. Horrible defensive performance, though. It's weird because you look around the team and you're like, I like all these players. But then when Matt Patricia was the defensive coordinator, it was one of the worst defenses you've ever seen. If you don't believe me, go ask the playoff game between the Buccaneers and the Eagles last year. I think the Eagles will swing back more towards their former self. Vic Fangio is the new defensive coordinator, one of the most heralded DCs in the game. Vic Fangio defenses are very complex. Might take a few weeks for the Eagles to figure it out, but I have faith in the Eagles. I think there is a pretty strong drop-off from Detroit and Frisco to Philly. But if Philly can find their former form, and it's not all Steichen and Gannon, they certainly have the weapons to be maybe not a Super Bowl level team, but way up there. We'll see. I mean, I'm not exactly the biggest believer in Jalen Hurts. I do think he was kind of a product of Steichen, but I'm willing to give the Eagles a chance here to prove me wrong. All right, number 6. So the 6th ranked team on my list. So I'm looking at teams that, let me just kind of real quick, like Dallas, Green Bay should probably be up here in the conversation. Cincy should be up here in the conversation. The Bills should be in the conversation. Texans should be in the conversation. Jets should be in the conversation. And that's probably about it. So, all right, number 6. So we got 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. I'm really high on this team. I admittedly am probably the most high on this team out of anybody in the universe. This is my team that I think is going to, or I bet, to win the AFC at 10-1 odds. The New York Jets. I believe. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm drinking the Aaron Rodgers Kool-Aid. The Jets somehow found a way to win 7 games last year with some of the worst quarterback play you'll ever see. Their roster's nuts. Coaching, not so much. This team is going to be propped up by 2 things. Their defense, best defense in the NFL. Pro Football Focus recently graded all the defenses. They gave the Jets the #1 defensive line, the #1 linebacking core, and the #1 secondary. That is a insane defense. On the offensive side of the ball, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, pretty talented, right? If Aaron Rodgers can come close to the Aaron Rodgers we've seen before, this is by far the best weapons Aaron Rodgers has ever had around him. It's by far the best defense Aaron Rodgers has ever had. Now, big time question mark. Robert Saleh, big time question mark. All the assistant coaches, big time question mark. Aaron Rodgers' health, no doubt. I'm high on this team. I think they win their division. I think this could be your 1 seed in the AFC because of their schedule and who they play. And they are my pick to win the AFC. So right now, betting wise, I have the Lions beating the Jets in the Super Bowl. There you go. All right, number 7, he's back. Joe Burrow. Boom, Cincinnati Bengals. I almost went ahead and took the Bengals to win the AFC. I did not because of the Jamar Chase issues they're going through in the preseason. Also, a little bit of the fragility of Joe Burrow. It's seemingly difficult for him to stay healthy. If you told me that Joe Burrow was going to be healthy all season long, I probably would have taken them to win the AFC. Right now, I'm a little concerned. Again, the Jamar Chase thing, we don't even know if he's going to play week 1. The Bengals also benefit because they get the 4th place in the division schedule. So they got last in the division last year, which means they have a very easy schedule compared to how good they are. A team as good as the Bengals shouldn't have a schedule this easy, but because of Burrow's injury last year and because of their record, they do get the easiest schedule that they could have gotten. So they're going to benefit from that, obviously. Huge question marks, though. Huge question marks about Joe Burrow's health. I've heard some medical experts over at ESPN say that they were concerned about his ability to hold up after the injury. I'm not a doctor, and I'm also concerned about Jamar Chase with him not playing. Do they start off slow? How does that look? But if all things are there, the Bengals are going to be incredibly dangerous. I love them to win the division. I love them, and this is another interesting thing where it's like I'm saying I think they win the division, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're better than the Ravens. I think they win the division because they have an easy schedule. But I think the Ravens are probably the better team. We're thinking on a different level here, ladies and gentlemen. But the Bengals come in at number 7 for me. All right, number 8, the Texans. Texans are everyone's darling team. The Texans are the team to beat, right? Or in the AFC, they are the new Jaguars. They're the new young team, came out of nowhere last year, and there's no reason to think they won't succeed. I got to give it to you. I got to give you that. I think the Texans, great coaches, Bobby Slowick, D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans should have been coach of the year last year. I had an enormous ticket on him to win. Lost that by 1 vote because 1 voter left D'Amico Ryans off of his ballot. Insane. And I lost in a tiebreaker to Kevin Stefanski. Brutal. That was a tough run for your boy. The Texans have an issue. The Texans' issue is that they cannot stop the run. The Texans' issue is that their interior defensive line is really bad. Don't believe me. D'Amico Ryans said so in a recent interview. That is the concern for the Texans. I've also bet against the Texans. I have the Colts +3. I think the Colts have a really good chance to win that game because of what I was saying. The Texans' inability to stop the run. But also, think about this. Colts last year win and go home against the Texans. Winner of that game won the division. The Colts were a dropped pass on 4th down from winning the division. What would the narrative be if the Texans don't win that game? The Texans don't make the playoffs. The Colts make the playoffs without Anthony Richardson. And all of a sudden, the rose may not be as shiny on the Texans. Now, I still think they're really good. No doubt about it. But I think they are a little less good than everyone else might think they are. They're loaded roster-wise. I mean, they're certainly loaded. But will there be some regression for C.J. Stroud? Like I said, it's hard, and we saw this with the Jags a few years ago where they go to the playoffs and all of a sudden people expect them to immediately ascend to challenge the AFC. Sometimes you got to win for a while. Sometimes it's a little slower. So I think the Texans are a 9-10-ish win team. I think they're closer to that than they are a 13-14 win team, which some people are putting them as. But yeah, I mean, love the roster, love the coaches, but it's hard to win immediately and then continue that unless you are truly generational. CJ Stroud could be truly generational if he is a Joe Burrow type, a Patrick Mahomes type, where he just comes in and wins off the jump and that's it. Then he shall prove me wrong. All right, number 9. All right, now we're down to now it's getting tight. I don't think Dallas is going to make my top 10. I think it's between Green Bay, Buffalo, Miami for these last 2 spots. I don't think any of these other teams. The Rams would be probably there. Yeah, none of the other teams. The Seahawks might be like here. Yeah, I'm cool with these 4 teams being 2 are going to make it and 2 will be honorable mentions. So Dallas isn't going to make it. I'll tell you why. Dallas has had one of the worst off seasons I have ever seen. Jerry Jones has argued with every one of his big players. Their running backs are Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook in an offense that wants to run the football. Dak Prescott is not only in a contract dispute, but he also is now in a verbal dispute with Jerry Jones. He came out and said that he's quit listening to what Jerry Jones has to say. CeeDee Lamb just got paid after a holdout/contract dispute. Oh, and they lost Dan Quinn. He's now the head coach of Washington. Dan Quinn and that defense was what was keeping Dallas around. Dallas's defense got really good all of a sudden, and that's why Dallas had so much success recently. You lose Dan Quinn. They're banged up in the secondary. Offensive line is nowhere near as good. Obviously, the running back room is really bad. CeeDee Lamb is cool, but then beyond that, the weapons they have is Jake Ferguson. I mean, what are we talking about here with Brandon Cooks and Jake Ferguson? Oh, and they have big Mike McCarthy, who's going to lose you a few games. So that's why I think Dallas is not right there. I love the Rams. I think the Rams are really good. I may put the Rams ahead of Miami, honestly. I think the Rams are really good. McVay, one of my favorite coaches in the game. Stafford, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. Question marks on the defense for sure, but the Rams will be dangerous. They'll be right there on the bubble of the playoffs last year. Anytime you have the playmakers they do and Sean McVay, you can certainly win games. Really tough division, which hurts Seattle too. But the Rams will be a player for sure. Bills. How big of a loss do you think Stephon Diggs is? That's the question. Do you think he's that big of a loss? I don't know, because when Joe Brady took over as play caller towards the last little bit of the season, Diggs only averaged right around like 50, 60-ish yards a game, so it's not like he was that impactful with Brady, Joe Brady that is. So, maybe it's not as big of a loss as we're thinking. Then again, you look at that roster, it's like, okay, Josh Allen's cool, and then what? Sean McDermott, I have a lot of questions of him as a head coach. I almost would rather Joe Brady as the head coach. Buffalo's got a lot. Buffalo's in a tough division too. Obviously the Jets I have as winning the division, but then you also have to play Miami. It's difficult to go to Miami. Patriots are horrific, but still a three-headed kind of monsters in there. I think I'm going to go. Oh, man, this is tight. I think I'm talking myself into the Rams at 9 and Green Bay at 10. I think LaFleur is a really good coach. I probably trust the roster of LA more than I trust the roster of Green Bay. Green Bay right now is Jordan Love, and then what? And then again, how good is Jordan Love? Like, is Jordan Love kind of how he played at the back half of last year? The Packers are one of those teams where I think a lot of the hype from the Packers comes from what we saw them do against Dallas. But is Green Bay closer to the team we saw that played Dallas or the team that played New Orleans? If it wasn't for Derek Carr's shoulder, Green Bay wouldn't have even been in that game. If it wasn't for that, does Love get the contract? I think Green Bay's a year away from being a year away. I think they're a year away from kind of filling out that roster, getting Love some help. getting love some playmakers. LaFleur is an offensive genius, no doubt about it, but super difficult division, having to deal with the Lions. The Bears are on the upswing. Vikings aren't terrible. They're below average, but it's hard to win in that division. The Rams, like I said, I just trust the Rams more. I think McVay is a better version of LaFleur. Stafford and Love. Are you more comfortable if you play the Super Bowl tomorrow? Are you more comfortable with Stafford or Love? I'm probably more comfortable with Stafford. The playmakers, no doubt about it, go to the Rams with Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp. But yeah, that's my top 10. So I'm happy with that. Ripped it just off the dome. No thoughts beforehand. Like I said, honorable mentions would probably be Buffalo at 11, Miami at 12, Dallas at 13, and then I don't have to really think. The Browns would be up here. The Bucks would probably be in this area. The Falcons would be in this area. None of these other teams I don't think would be. The Colts would be up there. Yeah, I mean, probably be like, probably something like that. Just real quick. And then there's a huge cutoff, and then I think you get to like bad teams. I think it cuts off right about here. So I would go Buffalo 11, Miami 12, and then we would go through these teams who I think all could make the playoffs. I think Dallas, Cleveland, Seattle, Indy, New Orleans, Tampa, Atlanta. I would not be surprised at all if any of those teams were 9-win, 10-win, playoff-ish level teams. I would be surprised if the Raiders, the Commanders, the Broncos, the Giants, the Panthers, the Chargers, the Vikings, Bears would probably go up here. The Cardinals, the Steelers, the Pats, the Titans, the Jags go up here. I would be surprised if they were playoff teams. So it's just where I have to just kind of show you where I would have all the teams. Pats, really bad. Broncos, really bad. Titans are down there. Giants are down there. Commanders are down there. Panthers are down there. Let's see. I think I might have the Steelers worse than the Cardinals. Chargers are really bad. It'd probably be, I wasn't expecting to rank. I was not expecting to rank all 32 here. But this is probably how I'd have it. Pretty close. Pretty close to this. Maybe Seattle would be, probably about. Yeah, top, it's real quick, but that's kind of how I would do the top 32. It's pretty close to that. Let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, Saints at 18. Yeah, that's probably about right. Yeah, I can dig it. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to do this video real quick to get this out there before the game. Enjoy the game. Again, I lean Chiefs. I lean the under. Isaiah Pacheco, anytime touchdown scorer. I think we get good performance from both clubs. An under game. Andy Reid with a lot of time to prepare. Andy Reid's really good off of a bye week. The offseason is the biggest bye week. So there's your top 10. Chiefs, Lions, 49ers, Ravens, Eagles, Jets. Do I put the Jets at 5? I'm putting the Jets at 5. I'm switching it up. Put the Jets at 5. I believe in the Jets, man. Chiefs, Lions, 49ers, Ravens, Jets, Eagles, Bengals, Texans, Rams, Packers. Honorable mention, Bills, Dolphins. There you go. Go down below in the comments. Give me your top 10. And we'll do this every week. So enjoy the game tonight, and I will see you in the next video.